Hi class! Finally, the last video for this module, we are going to talk about your assignment. So the description of the lab, it's about we are going to read a list of 50 or less integers from a file into an array, and then we would output a certain number that has been repeated, that number and the occurrence, like how many times it occurred in the file. So the output, I expected it to be a 2-column list. The left column is the distinct integers sorted from smallest to largest. The right hand side is the count of each integer. You can see the example output in your left assignment. So the plan is to first read the file, propagate a one-dimensional array, sort the array so that it goes from smallest to largest number, and then to count the occurrence and then create a 2-dimensional array out of it, and then we will print the 2-dimensional array. I mean, in all honesty, you might or might not need this instruction. So if you feel like you want to figure it out yourself, don't think about this, stop the video. But we do have some tips afterwards. So if you start to have troubles, and then you can come back to review this video, is fine too. So I wrote 4 functions basically for you, but this time just decoration, so that it is kind of how I see how this program can be written. This is one way, which describes the 4 steps that we just talked about. I'm not going to go through it with you. I hope you by now should understand what these are, and probably understand kind of how they should work. So I want to give you some tips though. So when you read integers from the input file, you want to maybe revisit module 7, how to do the if stream, open the file, test if the file has been opened correctly. Have to, just so you know, the character array behaves a little differently than the array that we are talking here, but how to use the character array to get the file name input is also in module 7. Put the integers in an array. First of all, you have to figure out the size of the array, right? Because when you declare an array, you have to give it a size. That's why we said in the lab description it's a file that contains 50 or less numbers inside. And then you want to keep track of how many integer actually is in your array, because right now you actually don't know before you read the file, and so you need a variable to keep track of the size, right? And then when you write, this is probably the first function that you're going to write if you decide to put in functions like I did. You would verify if all the numbers are being read correctly. And then you will sort the integers once they are put in the one-dimensional array. You can use either selection sort or bubble sort. You know that all the demo files, the CPP, will be downloadable from the module, right? And then after you implement this, verify the sorting is correct before you move on. That's my recommendation. You always can do what you want to do. And then when you count the occurrence of each integer, afterwards you always want to test if all the integers are being counted. So you want to know how many integers are in the input file. You want to also then add up the numbers of your counts and see if that add up to the total number of integers in the input file. You want to verify that the counts are correct, like I always say that testing is really part of your job. Is not any other people's job, even testers' job, because in a way you are doing unit testing. You are testing a very local portion of your code. So your code should be perfectly functioning before you submit it to or put it in the big pool of all this program many of people in your team are contributing. And counting occurrence is the opportunity to try to use two-dimensional array. For all the things that you do in this program and in many other programs, but in this program particularly, the boundary case is a little bit tricky. What I meant is like maybe the first of the array and the end of the array. If you count them, if you have did you count all of them? Usually, what's missing is either in the beginning or the end. So that's the end of some tips for you for this assignment. Feel free to ask me questions as usual, and good luck with this lab.